Hi there, guys. Welcome back to Boxing Deep Dive. I'm Lyndon Hosking, and a little bit of a different mini episode this one. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone that's been tuning in to our episodes. We've been going for about 4 months now, but it's been really good. We're getting plenty of traction as far as our followers and subscribers and that goes. So I'd like to thank everyone that's reached out to us and gave us plenty of feedback. It's been really appreciated. It's not easy, but look, we're all just passionate boxing fans. We love what we do. So all those that have commented and liked, shared, subscribed, and everything to do with the channel, as I said, it's really very much appreciated, and it's been good actually. The hosts on here, which is myself, Tassie Brown, Peter Maniatis, and Mike Altamura, with the other episodes that we do with the Dream Fights and classic fights. It's just a labour of love for us. We love it. Not only have we had extensive experience and background in the sport, end of the day, we're boxing fans. We love it. So it's been great. And got to say, the feedback on the Dream Fights has been awesome. We really enjoy putting those together, and the feedback's been great, whether it be positive or negative. Doesn't really matter. I think everyone is entitled to their opinion, and even the people that disagree with us do it in a good-natured way. And it's really good to have that banter, and that's why we do it. And so there'll be plenty more of those coming up. The classic fights, we love doing that as well. Again, as boxing fans, it's great to go back in time and revisit those great fights from the past and just go over what made them great fights. So thanks again, and again, there'll be plenty more of those coming out. So on the hosts themselves or ourselves, just a little bit of background on us all. I get asked a fair bit about, particularly my background. What do you do and what's your history? And a lot of people have watched YouTube videos and all that sort of stuff. So, and a couple of I've probably had 4, 5, 6 people that have sent me messages saying, hey, look, it'd be great to hear your story. But not only my story, I'm sure you'd love to hear the stories of Grant Tassie Brown, Peter Maniatis, and Mike Altamura, as I mentioned before. They've all got extensive experience in this sport, and they bring a lot to the channel that when I put the panel together, I was really conscious of having a good mix. I just didn't want 4 people on there that were all pretty much cut from the same cloth and had the same opinions and the same personalities and that sort of stuff. So I was really conscious of targeting the right type of people. Mike Altamura, as I mentioned on this channel many times, he's an encyclopedia of the sport. He's a student of the game, and it's really great to have his insight, because I think he brings a different demographic or view to the way we might view things. He has a more analytical view to it all, and the way he explains it is probably in a way that we probably couldn't, because he's just got such a mind for the sport. So it's great having him involved. Peter Maniatis, he's been involved in the sport forever. Been a promoter, I think, for 20, 25 years, whatever it might be. He's been around a long time. He's been a manager as well. He's a commentator. He has his own YouTube channel as well, KO Show, I think it's called, and been involved in fighters such as Manny Pacquiao and those types of guys. So he really knows his sport, and it's great to have on the show as well. And Grant Tassie Brown, well, what more can I say about Tassie? He's just Tassie Brown, and we love him here. He brings that dynamic element to the channel. He's so passionate about the sport and what it means to him. And not only has he represented Australia at amateur level, he's been a trainer, he's been a promoter, he's been a manager, and doing great things. So we love having him involved, and love him or hate him, you've got to respect his views. And as I said, he's so passionate about it, and it's great to have him as part of the mixes. As for myself, excuse me, I've been involved in the sport since I've been 10 years old. I started boxing from a town in Victoria called Bendigo. Lived there all my life. As I said, I started boxing when I was 10 years old. Had my first fight at 11. Had I think about sort of 20 or 30 fights. Won 3 junior titles before I went senior, and won my first senior title in 1992 in Darwin. And what an experience that was. So after I won in 92, I made the Australian team and represented Australia for the first time. Excuse me again. the Oceania Games in Samoa. It was back in '93. So what an experience it was. I was fortunate enough to win the gold medal. I had 4 fights in 5 days, so it was quite an introduction to the big time. It was such a great experience. I followed that up a couple of months later. I was selected for the 1993 World Titles in Finland, and even though I didn't get the win there, I lost by 1 point to a Russian, I think, from memory. But it was great to actually go over there with Justin Crawford and Robbie Bomber Peden. Couldn't have picked 2 better guys to go over there with, because they had such experience. Probably 2 of our greatest amateur fighters of all time. So it was great to be over there, even though they tried their best to corrupt me with all the shenanigans that goes on outside the ring or after the fights at the clubs and all that sort of stuff. It was really great to be part of it over there with them. 93, I actually lost the national titles to a guy who became a great friend in Richie Rolls. Let's just say I wasn't the first and last one to be bowled over by Richie. He dropped me with a beautiful right hand and didn't knock me out or anything like that, but got the win and really showed me what it was like to be at the elite level. So as I said, he became a great friend after that and a teammate on the Olympic and Commonwealth Games teams as well. So that was great. Had a bit of a spell in 94, 95, as most people do. I tended to go off the tracks a little bit, as far as not as way off the tracks, but just slightly off, where, as most 19 or 20-year-old kids do, they get an inkling for the nightlife and chasing girls, all that sort of stuff, all that fun stuff. But fortunately for me, the calling came back at the start of 96, so I decided to make a real run for it. And at the start of 96, I got down to welterweight. I'd been a little bit heavier in a couple of years before that. So I got down to, as I said, welterweight and made a real run at it. And fought another guy who had become a great friend in Pierre Karam. I fought him, strangely enough, at the Brizzy Brothers Boxing Gym at the start of 96 on a Sunday morning. It was quite bizarre. It was almost like a cockfight. There was about 50 to 60 people crammed around this ring at the Brizzy Brothers Gym, and Pierre and I went at it. I got the win and made my way to the Oceania Games, and again, fortunately enough to win there. I had 3 fights in 4 days there, and that was and strangely enough, I actually won by disqualification when my opponent, who's actually ended up being the brother of David Tua, I think all boxing fans know David Tua, hit me low repeatedly, got himself disqualified, and that, strangely enough, qualified me for the Olympic Games. So it was an interesting experience. The Olympics, I've got to say, while it's the highlight of my career, obviously it was at the same time the low light. And what I mean by that is I got over there. Look, it was great to be in camp with Bomber and Crawford again, but also Rick Temperi and James Swan and Lee Troush and Richie. It was a great experience. But when I got to the Olympics, they always say that you almost need 2 Olympics, one to experience it and one to actually compete. I was unfortunately one of the ones that got caught up a lot in the whole event itself, and I won't say I didn't focus on it, but I excuse me, but I probably let myself get distracted a little bit, and it didn't help that I come up against a 3-time junior world champion in my opponent, who was from Kazakhstan, who taught me the hard way what it takes to succeed at the top level. Let's just say I was a little bit out of my depth and got a bit of a touch up there, and as I said, learnt the hard way. But while it could have also been probably the end of my career, could have really dragged me down and got me out of the sport or depressed or whatever you might want to call it. I came back and I was really proud, because I lost a lot of weight coming back from Atlanta. Let's just say 2 weeks visiting every McDonald's in the Olympic Village with Justin Crawford every day is not great for the waistline, but I was really happy that I got back. I dedicated myself. I lost a lot of weight, as I said, and went to the Australian titles in Melbourne, and 3 fights in 3 days. I won the Australian title and beat some really good opponents by doing that as well. And then to finish the year, I went to South Africa and won the Commonwealth title, not the Commonwealth Games, just the Commonwealth titles. I had 3 fights there, I think, as well. So it was a really good way to end the year, and it really has set me back on the path of just getting back on track and getting my mind right after the disappointment of Atlanta. Now, the strange thing is that I probably dedicated myself too much in the end, because I didn't stop training after I got back from South Africa. I kept going and ended up burning myself out. So at the start of '97, we were supposed to go to Papua New Guinea for the Oceanic Games. I got to the AES and trained and got right up to the couple of days before we were supposed to leave, and I had to come home. I just didn't have it mentally. Physically, I was burnt out, so I came home. And to be honest with you, I didn't think I'd ever fight again. I thought that was it. They'd put a line through me, and that would be it for me. But I got myself back on track. I had most of the year off, got to about, I think it was July or August or whatever it was, and I sort of kept training, and I thought, no, I'm going to give it maybe one last go. And fortunately enough for me, they had a position for the A and B team for the World Championships later that year. So, so I came back. I fought a guy named Damien Dennis, who'd been doing great things overseas in my absence, and fought him at the AIS. And fortunately enough, I stopped him for the second time in about 6 months, and got my spot back. I was selected for the world titles, went to Hungary, Budapest, Hungary for the world titles. That was with Hussein and Earl Wilshire, Wilshire, I think it is. Great guys. We had a great time over there, and came back after that, won the Australian title again in '97, again beating another excellent fighter in Paul Miller, who ended up winning a Commonwealth Games gold medal 4 years later. So, and then the final act for me was going to the Commonwealth Games in '98. Fortunate enough to get there. Again, I won't say it was the greatest experience, because I had 3 fights. I won my first 2 very convincingly. The second one especially was against an Irish guy. I can't remember his name, but it was I think he was ranked in the top 3 or 4 in the world at that stage. So I beat him at the Commonwealth Games. Came up against a Canadian in the semi-finals. Let's just say it was probably the worst mistake I ever made. I made the mistake of a lot of fighters of thinking we'd done enough to win, and we didn't. I didn't do enough to get the win. I lost to the Canadian, who ended up going on to win the gold medal. And what was really disappointing about that was that I left the ring with an empty tank. And if you're a fighter out there, you know what I'm talking about. You don't necessarily mind. Well, you accept that some fights you're going to lose, but you can accept that if you get out of the ring and you've got an empty tank. And unfortunately for me, I thought I was winning each round. So in the last round, I coasted, and cost me the fight. So so I lost to Jeremy Molitor was his name. He ended up going to win the gold medal, as I said. And that was it for me. That was my career over. So I had about 100 fights, probably 80 to 85 wins. I'm not exactly sure what the record was, but look, it was a great experience. I loved it. I was fortunate enough after that to, I got married to my wife Tara, and a lot of people ask me, why didn't you go pro? I mean, I'd only just turned 25, so when you think back to it, I'd probably just about starting to hit my peak, or maybe not even hit my peak. So, but it was an interesting time. As I said, I got married to Tara. We got into business, and that competitive instinct and that fire that was always in the belly that boxing fulfilled, I was able to satisfy that through business. So, and I put everything into that to build a successful business. So since then, I've got back into boxing, had my own gym, got into coaching for a while. Maybe not really my cup of tea. It's not as easy as what it sounds. I loved having my gym, don't get me wrong. I love working with fighters. I love training people in boxing, but the coaching side maybe wasn't my thing. So I had a gym there for about 10 years. Closed it when we moved out of Bendigo, and since then I've been involved as a promoter. We've done over 20 shows in that field as well. Probably not something I'll look to do again, because it's pretty tough. It takes a lot out of you, and obviously it takes time away from my family and my business as well. So now this is how I'm filling my desire or my need to be involved in the sport. I really love being involved, and I love doing the show each week with the guys and bringing more content to you. And hopefully we can keep building the show and adding more shows and lots more interviews and that sort of stuff. So as I said, it's probably not really my thing to be talking about myself. It's not the most comfortable thing to do, but as I said, I've had probably half a dozen people reach out and say, look, it'd be great to actually hear your story. So hopefully that's that's given you a little bit of a background on myself. And as I said, I wouldn't mind coming up doing maybe a video on the other guys in the panel as well, just so you can hear their stories as well. And just for all those people that say, hey, you guys don't know anything about boxing, rest assured we do in different ways. We've all had different backgrounds, but we do know our stuff. And but happy to have all the feedback that you can give us. We're happy to debate either way in a good-natured way, and just talk boxing, which is what we all, end of the day, we want to do. So hopefully that shed some light on it, and look out for more episodes on the Boxing Deep Dive show and Dream Fights and Classic Fights. So I look forward to speaking and hearing from a lot more of you soon, and really hope you keep watching. It means the world to us to have you subscribe and like our channels. So thanks again, and look out for more episodes soon.